Take it away, Candice.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Internships and Apprenticeships. We're going to talk about internships and apprenticeships today. My name is Candice New, and I'm very excited to be here. I'm the Executive Director of Katharsis Media. We run the Education Access Channel out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're here today with a couple of our apprentices, and I'm really excited. You guys have probably all met them. They've been taking your meal tickets and registering you at the front desk, and so we're excited to have them here today. A little background about me. So I started off teaching I've been teaching high school and college since, for about 15 years now. And so I have my bachelor's in secondary education, and my master's degree is in educational psychology. I've been building internship and apprenticeship programs since the early 2000s. And a fun fact, actually, in 2003, I was an apprentice and charged with turning our apprenticeship program into a degree-granting bachelor's program, working with a local university. And that's kind of where I begun to dig into how to build these kind of programs. And so I've been doing that since then. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about some of the things we're doing.
Great. I'll start. Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah.
I'm Cheryl Gardner. I'm with Fresno State. I work in the media, communications, and journalism program. Do you want me to go into my part? How are you doing it? Do you want to say?
I'll say hi.
Say hi.
I'm just being fancy because I have everything here. I'm Kyle. I am the operations manager at CMAC, and I feel like I'm here with much more qualified people, but I will try to make my part of the talk just as interesting. But I'll toss it back to Cheryl because I think you lay a good foundation on internships.
Okay. Before we get into that, we're going to do a quick brag on Fresno and Fresno County. How many of you, this is your first time in this area? Okay, very good. Some of you are new, some of you are not. You might be surprised to know this is the largest ag producing region in the nation. And just Fresno County alone, we pull almost $9 billion a year in our ag produce. So we have grapes, almonds, pistachios, milk, poultry, cattle, peaches, to name some of our top commodity. Fresno State has a fabulous farm store, Gibson Market, so it's completely ran by the students, and the products in there are produced by the students. So if you have an opportunity to head up to the campus and check out the Gibson Farm Market, and you can see some of our outlying fields in the campus around there. So I've been in higher ed for 20 years. I have worked a lot with high school students for career and college planning, mostly college planning with an intended career in mind. And I'm going to use my clicker. Is that okay?
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it. Take it.
So,
take the wheel.
Lots of research, lots of study, lots of information out there about the benefits of internships, apprenticeships, and service learning in the educational setting. So it's something that we greatly support and encourage of our students. I teach a service learning course, if you're not familiar with that. It's not an internship, but students are put into a situation where they are working with a community organization, and it is that experiential learning that is required and that takes place there. And we know from that when students are more engaged there, they are more committed to the communities that they live in after graduation. So, and Fresno State really rocks at this service learning. I think we record more hours than any of the California state universities. So how does that differ from internships and apprenticeships? Well, it's a semester course. Internships, they're a little bit different. My colleagues here are going to explain that a little bit more. I'm going to dive into what our department does. So I'm in the Media, Communications, and Journalism department. We have about 10% of our enrollment for our department serving in an internship program every semester. And that's been the case for about the last 3 years. And I don't know what was before, but that's where we are now. And we've had to be creative as there has been changes in media, evolution, right? internships have had to keep pace with that. And, where can we have our interns and how can we structure these internships? Internship programs they're really this partnership with the community, with organizations within the community. And there has to be that understanding and that relationship building that goes on. I know we have a department that's very focused on building those relationships outside of the campus setting to provide those opportunities for our students. Our college recently received a very large grant, a $5 million grant, the Mellon Grant. I know, very nice, right? And it is to provide internships, paid internships for humanities focuses. So journalism and media, we fall into that. And so we're in the process of kicking that off and getting that underway. So with our internships, Fresno State, some unique aspects of Fresno State. We have about 24,000 students enrolled. 95%, is it 95? 95% of our student body is commuter. So we are a commuter campus. So they may be in Fresno County, but I think it's 82% of our student body is outside of Fresno County. So that's quite a commute coming in, whether they're coming in 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or daily. I know in some of my courses, I've had students commute 2 hours one way to get to their classes. So that's something to keep in mind as we're talking about structuring and how do you do these internships, because that's a lot of strain on students to have to make that kind of a commute.
Plus, Highway 99
Yeah.
and the state of California is the most dangerous freeway in the United States.
And those, you learn how to drive the back roads.
You do, yeah.
You really do. And then the other thing that's unique with our university, we are a Native American, Asian and Pacific Islander, and Hispanic serving institution. So we know the benefits for professional organizations with the internships, and this comes out of national surveys that have been done from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and Fresno State has participated in those surveys before. But it's a pipeline. I can't see my screen, so I have to see a pipeline for future hires. We have, it provides employers with more stable workforce because these interns are coming in trained and experienced. It gives employers exposure to new ideas, innovation, and new thought, especially as we have maybe a younger, not always, but a younger workforce coming in. I always tell my students, step out of your bubble, because we get caught in this bubble and we think this is how it is, but what other ideas and what other possibilities are out there? And I think our students can bring that into a workplace, definitely. And community engagement. Mentorship is very important during the college experience. And so having professional organizations who are willing to bring on interns and apprentices and to offer that mentorship is really key to the success of the students overall. By the way, I have to do another shout out. Kyle is one of our graduates, woohoo, and one of my current students is operating the camera back there. So everyone say hello to Sam. And then I have my adopted students, but I don't see Shiloh. I adopted some New Mexican students. Daniel's here. So, but I don't see all of them. Okay, so internships, obviously what they offer students, real-world professional experience that's very difficult to replicate in the classroom. I can set up hands-on projects and I can treat it as if it's a workplace environment, but it's not the same. And so when they're accountable and they're working in those professional settings, it just adds, it gives them those transferable skills and project experience that then builds their resume, their CV, and their portfolio. And it's professional networking opportunities for our students. What else does it do? It boosts confidence and know-how that, yes, I can do this. It also helps further define educational and career goals. And I think that's important before they different entry points that they can do these experiences. But I think the more we can help them really understand what the aspect of this could be, it helps them better, well, do I want to do this? Is this really what I want to do? And a story back from when I was doing college planning and career planning for another higher ed organization, another college, working with high school students, and we were mapping out, just trying to, nothing's set in stone when you're 18 years old, right? Things change, we all know this. But just having that idea and being able to give them the skill to think long term, and then what do I need to put in my toolbox to be successful with that? So I'm working with a student, and long term, I'm going to be a marine biologist. Okay, that's great, that's fabulous. I mean, look at what we have here. And we are in California. And then they tell me their college choice. And I was like, whoa, it was in the mountain states. And I'm like, okay. Have you considered our universities on the coast where they have these really strong programs? But then the topper was, as I'm talking to her, she really hasn't thought it through. As I'm pulling more information out, lifestyle, where do you see yourself living? What type of lifestyle would you like to have? Think, 10 years, 15, 20 years. I hate sand. And I'm like, well, okay, we need to really rethink this picture. So I use that as an experience because students, you're going into a field, and we've had a lot of students transfer into our program where they're in the field. Wait, I think you told me this story, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, he can share it, but they're like, I'm really not enjoying this major. This is not really, so then they transfer, they switch, whatever it is, to find where their fit is. And I think our internships and apprenticeships and just those learning experiences can help students define that and encourage them to continue on in their educational process. We say it's a capstone experience, right? But it doesn't have to be the senior year. It can come in at any point. Usually more experienced students, is what we would like to see doing the internships. But juniors, even second semester, sophomore, I think they're ready to have some internship experience. It's a motivator for students, and it's something to look forward to, definitely. I know from my own undergrad experience, that was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm stepping into a big newsroom. So I started out in journalism, broadcast, wanting the reporter experience and the anchor experience, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and driving an hour to the station, walking in, and it was just exciting. And it was like, yes, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. Mine was not paid. We'll talk, more about that, because that was a huge commitment to be up there 6 hours a day without pay, commuting 2 hours, and supporting yourself through college. But it was a motivator for me too, because man, I'm in the big league, right? And I served my internship with KSL in Salt Lake City, Utah. So yeah, you're in the big time, right? And it was a great experience though, and it let me know I'm in the right place, I'm in the right field. And I was hired actually, not for an on-air position, but a newsroom position. Okay, so this is the study that I'm looking at. And if you want more, I was talking about this with Kyle yesterday. We could dive so deep and spend so much time on these studies, but we're going to just skim. And if you would like more information, I can direct you to that. But from the 2024 study, I think it shows it's like 66.9%. So 67% of graduating seniors from college, from higher ed, they served an internship. That's really fabulous. I think, if I remember the data correctly, about 70% reported very positive experience. So I'm like, ooh, I would like to have the others have that too. And I'll have to double check that figure. I don't have it specifically. Also from the survey, what we learn is that the average internship is about 18 to 19 weeks, which is a good chunk of time. Higher career success rates for students who complete an internship versus those who never do any type of outside learning experience or internship. And there are also a higher rate of post-internship hire for students who have that paid internship experience. And then that brings us to the equity gap. One thing that the study definitely shows is that there is an equity gap when it comes to internships if it's paid versus non-paid, because you're opening the door. If it's non-paid, you're opening the door for students who have the means to do that. And it was so hard. I think back eons ago when I was in the undergrad program and supporting myself, first gen in college, I had to take out an extra loan that semester to cover the bases because I wasn't able to work in a paid position as many hours as I needed to support myself. So we create that with the haves and the have-nots again, and we really close the door to a lot of our students from marginalized communities and other situations that would want to turn to serve in those experiences. Sorry, I'm getting stumbly here. And then I apologize, my fonts are not contrasting enough here. I recreated this graph, but these are some of the reasons for why there was students had obstacles for internships. And the number one, it's 58.9%, and they're not sure how to find an internship. So that reflects on universities and colleges. Are we not communicating these opportunities to our students enough? And that is not the case for Fresno State and for the MCJ department, I assure you there, because we have a very high success rate with our internships. The other large one you see is their course load is too heavy. So I think that's intervention earlier maybe in their college planning to make sure they know the internship opportunities and then how to plan their schedule so that they can accommodate an internship experience into their coursework and their schedule. Lack of internship opportunities is the other reason. So just, I want to serve one, but there's nothing out there possibly for them. They have to work at the current job, which we're talking about. And another one that I really thought about was transportation issues. So if I could piggyback on that, transportation, let's go back to our commuting issue, right? So I think one thing that our department is looking at is having internships in some of our smaller locations, not all Fresno-based, something that maybe they can do on days that they're not traveling into the campus or in their local communities to support their communities, since we do have that large commuting population. And yeah, if you're setting it up, and these two will address that, just from a faculty standpoint, remember the time commitments of our students. And I have to do that as I plan assignments. Sam, I hope I'm doing it right here. Not to burden too many deadlines, not to pile, because, they have a heavy course load, and they, everybody wants their work and their course to be number one. And so they're piled with these deadlines sometimes. Compensation for students does lead to more success, I think, on both parties, because there's a commitment, there's a vested interest. And then consider the equity issues, not just with paid versus non-paid, but with the transportation issues and all of that. Successful internships, they make good use of the intern's time. They're not there to sharpen pencils, maybe, but not always, Clearly define the roles and the responsibilities for those interns. Provide onboarding and training so they understand the situation. We also do kind of a risk management through the university, like really defining where they will be, what they will be doing, what the risks of them are in that setting. You had to do one, right? Yeah, I think so. Set goals and expectations, realistic ones, and hold those interns accountable. And then provide supervision, guidance with reviews and constructive feedback for the intern. And one thing I did not put on there is communication back with the faculty, letting us know what's happening, how it's going, if we need to do something on our end more so. I think that Communication is important. It goes back to a previous slide where I said this is a partnership between organizations in the community and the campuses. So that is my part here. So again, if you have questions or you would like to look more at the studies that I looked at, I can direct you to that. So I turn it to Kyle.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Like I said, I'm Kyle, operations manager for CMAC. My team is in charge of the maintenance of CMAC and also our client and productions. And we do internships and apprenticeships. Our internship is very aligned with what Cheryl just laid out through Fresno State. Our apprenticeship is less formal. It was just something I kind of just wanted to call an apprenticeship, but it's a partnership with the Fresno Youth Job Corps. But let's, oh, yes, I'm also a Fresno State alum, and my quick story was that I started out as an electrical engineering major, and I had two friends who were in the MCJ department, and every evening I was doing calculus homework, and they were making cool videos, and I got jealous, so I switched my major, and it's worked out so far. Okay, but jumping into interns, we do a paid internship with the Fresno State College of Humanities, mostly MCJ students, but Samuel here is not an MCJ major. You are an anthropology major?
That's correct.
Anthropology major. So we do sometimes branch out beyond MCJ if someone from another major is interested in being an intern at CMAC. Here's what the setup kind of looks like. The students are either in their last semester or second to last semester. We plaster the CMAC Speech Arts building, the building which most of the MCJ classes take place, with posters say, hey, come be an intern at CMAC. And then they apply, and we do interviews, and we will take on 1 to 3 interns depending on our workload at CMAC. Sometimes we know we're going to have a semester where we're doing a bunch of football games, and it's great to have 3 interns to come to these football games and help us run cables and run the production. But our spring semesters that we're currently in, we don't have a ton of like guaranteed productions that we know we're going to do for sure. So in this case, we just brought on Samuel. We just brought on 1 intern. Then the students sign up for the MCJ 191 class so that they can both get the credits, I believe it's three credits, and a stipend, which is paid half by CMAC and half by Fresno State. I believe it is about $1,800 for the whole semester. And then the interns work with us for 150 hours. That is from onboarding and training and working on productions and working on projects. And then we also have interns do a final project. So let's talk a little bit more about what a semester looks like. We will have this interns on board by attending all of the CMAC workshops. The CMAC workshops, luckily we have Davey here. Davey, about how long is it like you get through the cycle of all of the workshops? It used to be monthly, but we've added a lot more workshops, so it's not necessarily every single month we do all the workshops. It's like on a 2.5 month cycle, would you say?
Yeah, about 2.5 months, but the main core workshops are about a month.
Yeah, so throughout the first month, the interns are attending the workshops, getting to know CMAC. We're doing some other onboarding outside of the workshops. And then after, they're getting going, we have them come and assist us on productions, internal projects, maintenance, some fun stuff. So that's where Sam is now. So actually, Sam, can I have you come out? I've got a home field advantage in that I have my intern here and an apprentice here.
And my student.
Yes, and Sam is also one of Cheryl's students. So, Sam, can I hand you a microphone here? And then, Isabella, can you hop on camera so we can see Sam? We're just playing musical production here, chairs. Yeah, so Sam, what has been some of your experiences as a CMAC intern so far?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank Kyle and the MCG department, especially coming from that anthropology department.
We took a big risk not bringing
Yes,
on an
exactly.
MCG. No, it's been good.
But, as an aspiring filmmaker for anthropology and doing documentaries, it gives me the opportunity to learn all the back-end production stuff. And then I think the biggest aspect that comes from interning at CMAC is the networking experience. Getting a chance to grab a little bit of piece of knowledge from everybody at CMAC and being able to apply that for my future career.
Yeah. And then just really quick while you're up here, what's been your favorite production that you've been on? Can you explain what it was, dive into what you did for it?
Yeah, so I think the Maddie Report and all the productions we do in the studio at CMAC gives me an opportunity to network as well with film producers and co-hosts and hosts of those shows, and pretty much take away a little bit about how they run their shows, how they plan for their shows, and then in part being able to turn that into all the productions that I'm doing as well.
Yeah. So if you were at CMAC on Wednesday, you might have seen it on our TVs. Maddie Report is a multicam studio production interviewing policy folks for the state of California. So it's all government policy stuff. But Blake is a great host, and
Definitely
get to interact with him. Samuel, thank you so much for coming up. All right, I'm turning this into a talk show. Cool. Some other responsibilities for our interns are they do a reflection essay. So actually, Sam's reflection essay is going to be due in a couple weeks. It's a halfway point to kind of just check in with the interns. Mostly not so much that like I need you to write an essay because I need you to write an essay. It's more feedback from the interns to us to let us know like what you've learned and what you still want to learn. I usually ask like, what are you still wanting to do since we have half of a semester left? So it's a good check-in halfway through. And then the right one at the end to kind of recap in the project. And then a final project is usually a little mini documentary, 3 to 5 minutes, about their experience or about community media in general. A lot of them are about the importance of community media. And I've got a short clip after this slide. You can check out a previous intern's final project. We do weekly updates. I try to remember to send Sam an email every Monday of like, here's what's coming up, here's what we've got, here's what I think is going to fit with your school schedule, so you can come and join us on a production or some maintenance or some other fun projects. It's a lot of multi-cam productions, especially this semester. We haven't done a lot of single cam productions, but sometimes we do some narrative or PSA style stuff that's like a single cam instead of a multi-cam talk show or a conference. And then, final project. We try to get the final project wrapped up before finals week so that the interns can spend their executive function getting ready for finals. Now, actually, I'm very lucky. I'm going to turn this into a talk show again. I'm very lucky. I actually have Dom in the room here because for those of you who are like, oh, I don't have like a CSU school nearby that already has an internship project that like we could just plug into and pay half, they pay half. We have done some unpaid internships before in partnership with Fresno Unified. Dom does not know. I did not prep Dom. I saw him walk in and I was like, oh, perfect. Because I did not work on this internship project. We did 2 semesters with Fresno Unified high school students. So Dom, if you wouldn't mind coming up and briefly sharing your experience about what it was like working with Fresno Unified in that internship project.
Yeah. So the partnership that we have with Fresno Unified is really a cool and interesting one because, for one, it's a district-wide program that they initiated a couple years ago, and then they reached out to us to say, hey, would you guys be essentially a partner, an organization partner to actually host potential student interns at a high school level? And they handle all the logistics, so they do their own kind of like orientation. I believe it's about 8 weeks orientation at the start of the school year. And then at which point, let's just think, typical school year, around end of September, early October, we'll get interns that apply to CMAC. It can range anywhere from like 2 to 5 students on average. And then just like with Fresno State interns, we'll do the interview process as normal. And then we'll do the selection. And then I remember my very first year, I had 2 interns work under me. Second year, we had 5 interns, and then it was between me and another colleague that we just, oversaw their experience at CMAC. And then this year, I just have, I'm trying to remember right now, just the one. But yeah, overall it's been pretty great. And yeah.
And what are some of the responsibilities you're having these unpaid interns do versus the Fresno State paid interns?
So unlike with you in productions, they're actually helping me out with programming. So the cable channels, managing that whole workload, all the video processing, practicing setting up live government and education meetings. So it's more on the techie side on the back end. Granted, it's a little tedious, I'll admit, but actually it helps them get more of the computer skills, IT experience that they can still apply, whether it's video production or if they want to potentially go more into the IT route if they really wanted to. So that's kind of spin I try to put on it.
Cool. Thanks, Dom.
No problem.
Yeah, because I did not work on that internship project at all. So I was like, I wasn't even going to talk about it, and then I saw you walk in. So thanks. Cool. And your interns also work on a video project as well. So here's just a sample of a intern project from a Fresno State student. This one was produced by Alex Soto, who is here with us. He's no longer an intern. He now works for Madera. My favorite part of working here at CMAC is getting to see all the different faces from throughout the community who want to learn how to produce video. Because it's going to bounce off. You'll see Alex around here. You can come say hi to him. He's wearing a black
People from all kinds of backgrounds want to create a variety of different videos, and it's great to see all of them.
What I thought was really cool about it is you get access to all their facility and their cameras and their studio.
A show where we talk about what's happening at CMAC with real life CMAC members.
Yeah, so today we did the studio workshop. And then when they go on the break, you were talent, you were floor director, you were director, you were audio.
What kinds of projects do you think you'll do? As you do these workshops and unlock your ability to use this
I
stuff?
like directing because it's fun. I mean, you kind of feel in control.
Ready to open mics, ready to cue talent, ready to fade out music. Fade up camera 1, open mics, cue talent, fade out music.
As director, you feel the pressure.
We have one of the biggest full-time staffs of a community media center, especially in California, and our staff is committed to helping the community kind of achieve their goal through video.
Yeah, so a little project. That one was definitely focused on CMAC and community media, but we kind of let the apprentices take the reins. We had a intern who was a broadcast major, wanted to be a reporter, so he did his more in the style of a news package. So they can take it kind of. We open up the reins for that. So that's our internship project, and then last year we started what we were calling our apprenticeship program through the Fresno Youth Job Corps program, where we'll take on 2 or 3 apprentices. This program is similar to our internship program, but the Fresno Youth Job Corps has some other requirements. These folks are a little bit older. They could be 18 to 29. The city of Fresno still considers 29 youth. And they are working 20 hours per week for 12 weeks, or in this case, Isabella and Sam, who you've seen around the conference this week, are working 24 hours a week per week for 10 weeks. That's just the way that the schedule kind of shook out for this, but ultimately 240 hours. It is paid entirely through the city of Fresno. So I know this might not be super helpful if your city is not offering a youth job corps program where they are paying for it, but hopefully some of these ideas can still be useful in terms of putting together a similar program.
the city of Fresno got a state of California jobs grant, which is funding the whole thing. And we are not the only nonprofit participating. There is the city of Fresno themselves take on folks. They're calling them ambassadors for the city. The Poverello House is a local nonprofit helping the unhoused with housing and food and necessities to get back on their feet. And the Downtown Fresno Partnership, if you've walked around downtown during your time here, you might have seen people in golf carts and orange beanies, bright orange beanies. And there's someone here at the conference with a bright orange beanie, and they look like they're part of the Downtown Fresno Partnership. But they are ambassadors for downtown, helping keep downtown clean and helping direct traffic and stuff. The YJCP also provides wraparound services for the participants, which is fantastic. If they don't have a car, they can get a bus pass. If they have children, they can get childcare. If they don't have work clothes, they can get work clothes. There's all kinds of really helpful stuff to help young folks get into the workforce. So, similar to our interns, the apprentices join us on productions and do help us with some maintenance and operation stuff. But these apprentices also spend a fair amount of time with the front desk, helping out the community media team with memberships and checkouts and stuff. We've had a pretty busy time here. So Sam, other Sam, we have two, Samuel and Sam, has helped us with a lot of productions. And Isabella has also helped Dom with programming. So actually, Isabella, will you come down and tell us about your experience as a CMAC apprentice? Again, I'm so sorry. I had the opportunity to do this, so I'm taking it. Isabella.
Hello, my name is Isabella, and I am an intern apprentice through the YJCP program. I started mid-January, and since then I did some training, and now I'm under Dom doing programming, and I also help with production sometimes, so usually I'm helping schedule meetings and things like that, and just making sure the cable cast and stuff that we use is running smoothly. And then today, or this weekend, I'm running all the cameras and helping out. So.
Yeah, what has been, aside from this, what has been a fun production that you've been on, and what did you do for it?
Most of the productions I'm on, I'm helping out with just things that you guys are doing, and then I'm like, oh, do you guys need an extra hand? And I'm helping out with that, and that's fun on its own. I just like doing whatever I can to help out, and if they need an extra hand. Yeah.
And then in terms of like the services that the city of Fresno offers, I feel like I'm missing some of those wraparound services. Do you know any more about those other services that the city, whether or not you are using them? I know that they give you a big old packet when you signed up. Were there other things on the YJCP program?
There's quite a few. I think you covered most of them, you know, clothing and transportation and childcare and housing and things like that. So they really try to make sure that you are able to have a comfortable environment so that you can work a job and have a lot of access to things that, you know, you just didn't have in the first place that were stopping you from doing so.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for coming up, Isabel. I know I kind of put you on the spot this morning, but thank you. All right, yeah. This round of the YJCP, we haven't had time to have them create their own show, but a previous group, we did do a little talk show with them. So I'll just play just a quick snippet of a little talk show we had previous apprentices. They found their own guests. They wrote their own questions. One of them hosted, the others ran cameras and switched the show, technical directed. And here's a little preview of a show called Community Corner. And Dom kind of helped them with the conception of the show.
Hello, and welcome to Community Corner, a show about community benefit organizations in the Central Valley. I'm your host, Faith. Every episode, we highlight a local CBO in Fresno County and talk about the positive impact the organization has on the community. Today, we have Janelle and Scott from IdeaWorks. Thank you for joining us today.
You bet.
So tell us about IdeaWorks and what's your whole goal and, what you guys are trying to reach out to.
So Fresno IdeaWorks is a makerspace, and I guess we should define what a makerspace is. A makerspace is a community center where people come together to learn new skills, to share their ideas, to learn from each other, and to make cool stuff. There are makerspaces all over the world, and some are for-profits and some are non-profits, like IdeaWorks. Some are attached to schools or libraries. There's not a very specific definition, but what all makerspaces have in common is that they welcome in anybody who wants to make something with their own hands.
Cool. I won't make you watch the whole half-hour show, but if you want, it's on CMAC.tv. I think our internship program and our apprenticeship program is a lot of fun, and I hope both Sam and Isabella don't feel like they're doing a ton of menial work, sharpening pencils, as you said. I hope they feel like they're getting some real useful life skills through their time here. And we are leveraging systems that already exist. The Fresno State program, and then the City of Fresno Youth Job Corps program, and if you have schools, a city, a community college, a university nearby, and you haven't built that partnership with them, start sending emails, start making phone calls. We would not be able to do this on our own, but through these programs, we're able to offer these opportunities to these folks and get them the experiences. That's my email. Send me an email if you have questions. And then do you have sound? Do you need a...
I don't need sound.
Okay.
No, I'm not that cool. Sorry, guys. There we go. No, I don't need that, right?
Yeah, just hit close on that. That's just the clicker.
All right, so like I said, my name's Candice New, and I'm the executive director of Katharsis Media, and we've got a variety of different programs. So we believe that internships, apprenticeships basically support our mission, and so one of the three prongs of our mission is to provide a living wage for artists. And so as an organization, before we took over the channel, we were a standalone nonprofit organization. And so this is one, we want to provide professional level training and an inroad into the film and media industries. So we offer apprenticeships or internships, pre-apprenticeship, and registered apprenticeship programs, which are a little bit different, so we'll talk about them. We currently, this semester, have 4 general interns. We're also bringing on 4 additional general interns next week. We have 13 pre-apprentices and 4 apprentices, and we'll talk about what does that look like as we go through. So I didn't need that slide, sorry. All of our programs have some things in common. So first of all, we have 3 what we call modes, and that's ways that we interact with our public access station and the community. Katharsis Media was a production company at heart with a nonprofit heartbeat, if you will, before we took over the PEG channels, or before we took over the education channel. So we have our own productions as well. So we do in-studio productions at our public access channel, or our public access studio, and at our own studio, Katharsis East. We also have field projects that we go out and work with, and those are our own projects. We have a number of both narrative and docu-style, programming. And then we also work in partnership with the local film industry. So we partner with independent and union productions, putting up a variety of programs. And so that's something really cool that we get to do. And then we also have a variety of partners that we work with as well. We call these film adjacent partners or vendors, and those are things like Monumental Costumes. It's a costume rental house. Serious Scrippage is a lighting and electric rental house. Vault Studios does post-production, and then Triple Tone Audio does post-production sound. And so these are a couple of our partners. We actually have all of these partners that we work with to support our program. So we're in partnership with the local film crafts union, IATSE Local 480. We're in partnership with the local high school district, a couple of colleges, and all of your kind of workforce connections agencies and the State Apprenticeship Office. We have a variety of partners that we work with that are production companies that regularly do production in Albuquerque, and then we also work with outside productions that are coming into town from arguably Hollywood, right? So we also partner with Goodwill Industries, who helps us to make sure that we're making connections within underserved communities, and they also do some PA training that we get to take advantage of too, so that's kind of fun. So there's some differences between our different programs. General internships are for 18 and over. They're less competitive, but they do have some qualifiers, and that is because these are sourced through or funded through New Mexico Workforce Connections, and they're using WIOA funding. And so they spend 25 to 29 hours per week with us. It's not a certificate-bearing program, and it may not qualify for union days depending on what they do while they're there, because our general internships are a little bit different. It may include, so one of the things about apprenticeship is that there's a list of occupations that were approved by the federal government. So for apprenticeship, some crafts or some occupations are not included, like art department is not in apprenticeship because they want us to go construction route when we start building or painting or anything, so they have to skip over that. So if you want to do art department, then it becomes part of a general internship instead. And so it's kind of how we dance there. And then there's not a requirement for related instruction, which is specific classroom theory hours. And usually these are students that already have chosen their career path, so they've already have an education as well. They have to be within 1 year of graduation, either going to graduate or just graduated from college with or from a certificate program in the film or media industries. And this is funded through New Mexico Workforce Connections. We don't take care of any of the funding for this program, which is really helpful for us. Pre-apprentices are ages 16 to 23. That's the official like pre-apprentice like age group or whatever. And so that does mean that pre-apprentices for us can be high school juniors or seniors. They can also be college students currently in college as opposed to within that last year. And they could also be not in college or not in a program. So we don't require a GED. We've had homeschool kids come out and join us. We've had dropouts come out and join us. And we have kids that aren't interested in the college track also come out and join us. So we have kind of a wide variety. It is a certificate program, and it does not require related instruction. Of course, we provide training, but it is focused mostly on on-the-job training. They can be high school juniors and seniors or current college students. They do not have to be a student at all. We offer flexible scheduling, so we basically ask them to declare their conflicts, and then we build what we call a default schedule around those conflicts. And then when we have special productions coming through town that they get to work on, we invite them to sign up for those. And so, you know, we worked on a Hallmark movie in December, and that was like December 2nd through the 20th, and you needed to be available the entire time. However, we also have built some really, really phenomenal partnerships with the, you know, producers that are coming through town and with the local film office. And so even though I think we had 4 interns and apprentices working full-time on that set. We also had our high school students got to come out and work a part shift, right? So they come out for 4 hours. They came out after their school day or whatever. And that was totally, like, we've got 12 high school kids on set, which is pretty cool. So those are things that we do. We also have a remote program for this, which provides access across the state, and this is something that we are piloting this year. And so we are offering we do related some instruction through a Zoom, like where we all kind of gather together, and then we have weekly challenges that they go into their community and they find a local nonprofit that they're going to create a PSA for. They build a script, they build a pitch deck, all the different phases of production, and then bring those to fruition remotely, and that will get them through their phase 1 in order to kind of prep them for coming out for a registered apprenticeship program and create some access that way. We do have 2 phases. It's a phase 1 is a training phase, and phase 2 is a focus phase. So in phase 1, they rotate through 13 different departments of film and media, and in that time frame, they need to make a decision about where they want to exist. Each phase is 180 hours, and then phase 2 is a focus phase, and that's where they'll decide, I want to be in the sound department, and they're going to spend their time in that department. They do get 13 of the 30 qualifying union days for local IATSE 480 through this program, which is the same 15 days that they would get if they went through a college program. So we have kids graduating high school with 15 of their 30 union days, and then they can jump into a registered apprenticeship program for acquiring or attempting to acquire those other 15 days. There's some things there, but if they successfully complete it, they do gain direct entry into our registered apprenticeship program. That is dependent on available slots, and it's a highly competitive program. So we just launched this program. Our first semester began January 20th. We had over 60 applicants. We didn't tell anybody, and we only had 4 slots. So going through our pre-apprenticeship program is like, you will get a slot. You might have to wait a semester to start, but it is kind of the best inroads, and that's just where we're at. It's funded in part through the Department of Workforce Solutions, and in part through CNM Community College, and also in part through Albuquerque Public Schools, which I forgot to put on here. And so depending on where they're coming from, we have different funding sources. We also pay like with CNM, they pay $12 per hour, and we add $3 per hour on top of that. So that's how the kind of breakdown comes in. And then I went through this a little bit. Training 1, or phase 1, is actually a training phase. It's unpaid if you're a high school student. If you're not a high school student, you can actually jump directly into phase 2, but you have to have some sort of experience. So we do ask that you do some training, or either through us, unpaid, or outside before you get into our phase 2, and that's just because phase 2 is paid and we have limited slots. So right now we have 13 high school students, and as they go into phase 2 in the summer, we only have 6 slots. Some of those are already phase 2s, but we just don't have the funding for that. And then their goals are, of course, to obtain union days, build their resume, and to build some networks. Registered apprenticeship is a little bit different. So we hear the term apprenticeship a lot, and a registered apprenticeship program is a federally recognized certificate program, and it has a lot of oversight from your state, and/or the federal government has some say, and then the state is responsible for ensuring that you're meeting the marks, if you will. So it took us about 2 years to build our program, to get it approved, and then to launch. So we've been working on this program for quite some time, and we're really excited about it. It combines paid on-the-job learning with related instruction, and it's officially recognized by the government, and it earns a nationally recognized certificate. This program, so an apprenticeship versus internship, some basic things. It is, like I said, registered apprenticeship is registered with a government agency like the Department of Labor, and it has very specific standards. It combines paid on-the-job training with related instruction, and for every year of on-the-job training, they require 144 hours of related instruction. So it's a 2,000 hour per year, and 140 of on-the-job training, and 144 hours of related instruction, like classroom training. I'll get through that in a minute. So it offers a structured curriculum. We've aligned those with industry standards. So we went to IATSE and we said, what do we need, right? We went to our various unions and said, what is lacking? What do we want to make sure that these individuals have before they enter the force, before they enter the union? And then it typically lasts between 1 to 6 years, depending on the occupational track. And that number is not determined by me, it is determined by the federal government. And some of them are kind of weird in comparison to other ones, and you're wondering, like, why? And I just work here. So, but it does ensure fair pay. It has to be at least 25 hours a week, and they want it to be full-time. And so it is full-time, at least a year, up to 6 years, W-2 employee is what we're looking at. And it has to be a clear pathway for career advancement and full-time employment. So of course, in comparison to internship programs, which are both are incredibly valuable and meet different students or different persons with where they're at and with their personal goals, right? So we have our general interns that are coming on to gain specific experience. Maybe they just need to work on one more project before they get their experience needed to join the overflow list or to push them from the overflow list into the union. So sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes they're trying to, they've got a semester where they have that ability. So it really just depends. But a registered apprenticeship program is a very structured program. So it's 18 and over, between 2,000 and 8,000 hours. We bring them on between 29 and 40 hours per week, and that's paid time. They do get their 15 of 30 qualifying union days by phase 2. We have 4 phases. So by phase 2, they should be on the overflow list, having 15 of their 30 days. And then the goal is to acquire the remaining 15 days during phases 3 and 4. Goal 2 is that they gain secondary guild or union membership, and that really depends on like what it is they're trying to do, right? Like they're probably not gonna like join the PGA, okay? But they might get their 400 PA days to be a second AD. So that's a realistic goal. And then goal 3 is, and this should really be goal 1, to be very honest, but in the grand scheme of like career pathway, this is important. And also, so goal 3 is to provide a stable living wage while they're what we call in the gap. And that means that for film industry workers, we are freelance workers. And it is, like I worked, one day this month and then I waited and maybe got on a list, so it's, and we have a very thriving film industry in Albuquerque. So for us and our partnership here, one of the goals was to allow an opportunity for people who want to work in this industry without them signing up for like a retail job or a job working at a restaurant that they know they have to call in sick to in order to go work that one day on that set, and they're trying to get 30 of those. I don't know how many times you can call in sick, at your job without getting fired. I know like 3 is like usually like where you start need to have a doctor's note, and so when you're telling them that you're doing this, but you're really actually on set, you don't have that doctor's note. So we find that there's a lot of like, on resumes of film industry workers, there's a lot of like, I got fired or I quit over and over again because I was trying to pursue this dream. And it doesn't become a sustainable career pathway, and most people give up. And so this is one of our goals. We are here, it takes an average of 2 years from when you get on the overflow list to get into the union. And so one of our biggest goals is to provide that. And if you're doing the math, if you're following us so far, if you've hung out with us since high school, all the way through your registered apprenticeship, that means that you might have been with us for 5 or 6 years. Daniel, how long have you been with Katharsis?
I believe that I started in, what was the year, 2021 with, that was on
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Officially, yes. So that's 3 years.
Yeah. So Daniel's in for 3 years. Shiloh, full disclosure, Shiloh's my son. So he is the original apprentice. He's been around too long. We don't know. But Shiloh's officially in his 3rd year of apprenticeship as well. And then Joey's been around, he's here officially in his 4th year. So they've been around for quite some time. And then we also have another apprentice who's an editing apprentice, and she's in her 2nd year with us. So this is funded in part through C&M Community College. And I will tell you that when I heard about registered apprenticeship and realized what we were already doing was basically that, I got excited because there's funding for it. And also, the funding is generally not towards wages for the apprentices. So if I'm paying them between $15 and $18 an hour full time, that's $33,000 per year per apprentice. So we are struggling to figure some of that out. C&M, which is our local community college, pays the first 6 months of apprentices if they're taking related instruction with them, up to $15 an hour, and then we pay the remainder. That's been a huge blessing. We don't actually know what's going to happen in 6 months, so that's where we are trying to get our 4 apprentices fully funded. So donations accepted. And so that's kind of the overview of that. These are the occupational tracks that we have. So our apprentices come on and they have to select one of these tracks, and they are in that track for the number of hours that's in parentheses. And so they need to do about 80% of their time working in that field. So we are, my favorite ones are the producer interns, because that really means anything I need you to do. And they all also have already completed pre-apprenticeship, which means they've learned everything in the studio. They can run any piece of equipment that we have in the studio. They can go run anything basically out in the field. So they are really doing a lot of different things, and we've got some interesting things that we get to do with this. We only have 4 of those tracks open right now because that's all we have funding for. And so we picked the highest leverage items: producer, director, sound mixer, and editor, and we need to have camera operators and lighting, and we need all of these things. But we find that we dig into our internships and our pre-apprentices for some of them as well. So that's a QR code if you want to read more in depth about our program specifically. So those are some different ways to approach things but I'd be happy to open it up for questions for anybody that has questions. Yes.
So if, let's say I have an operation and I want to start, what are the first steps? So as you're crafting the approach, is it to be working specifically with the local community college or workforce center? I mean, are there like sort of screenings and steps that people need to be thinking about as they're thinking about their local environment, local communities? Obviously, Albuquerque is sort of the heart of film industry in New Mexico. Not every state has the same asset base and industrial focus, but many do, or maybe slightly adjacent. So, how would you suggest people start?
Sure. So I would say, and I've built internship programs in a wide variety of industries. So, the first thing that you've got to do is determine what are you going to have your interns do. Because you want to make sure that you're not having them just sharpen pencils. So the first thing is defining what is your program, obviously. But that generally takes asking questions of your industry partners and of your local, I would say, Department of Workforce Solutions, because they're going to be your best friend when it comes to funding, honestly, and your local community college or your local school district, depending on where you're starting your internships.
And to be clear, that Workforce Solutions Department is county or state-based?
I think it's state-based.
I think it depends on the state.
I could be wrong. I actually don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that, I'm in Albuquerque, so even if they're state-based, they're in Albuquerque. Unless they want to be extra, and then they're in Santa Fe for no reason. But yeah, so I would say making those connections and asking them, do you have things you need? One of the things that we started with was reaching out to the schools and said, if I wanted to create an internship program and make sure that they get high school credit for it, what number of hours do you require? And so for APS, it's 45 hours per semester for a half credit, 90 hours for a full credit. So we, are extra, so we said, great, so they'll do 90 hours a semester, and we created 180 hours, which we learned that that's a lot, and we could stretch that over 2 years. But also we have some kids, and so our program is at their own pace. We have some students who come in and they only do 6 hours a week, and we have some that do 12. If you hit 12, you'll hit your 180 hours a semester, or your 90 hours in a semester, and you'll finish in 1 year. If you do 6, then it'll stretch over 2 years. And so I would say that's the first thing, is reaching out and finding out if your local community college has funding. And DWS sometimes has a pre-apprenticeship fund, which is a federal program. And so they might actually be able to pay your pre-apprentices, but they have stipulations. And so before you go gung-ho, ask questions. Everybody else has, sorry.
No, it's the grants too. There are grants out there, so you can, I don't know what that will look like going forward either.
Right.
But grant funding is out there if you look.
Yeah.
Backing up, we're an organization with a $250,000 budget and 2 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. And we really were lean. How do you get started?
Sure. I would say to shift your mindset, because I think that we often think of the interns as the ones getting the opportunity, but I always think that the interns are the opportunity. We are an organization that gets $85,000 a year, and so we're in a much smaller. And how do we do it? We are constantly hustling and finding those partnerships. We ask the production to pay half of their day rates, and sometimes that equals C&M's paying $12 out of $15 an hour, and the production's paying half, and that means that I now have a surplus that I can go ahead and say, Daniel, congratulations, you get to work 3 more days, right? And that's what we're doing. We're literally tallying it and putting it into a bucket. But the reality is that my station is run by interns and apprentices. I am full-time. I'm full-time staff, and I'm paid part-time. And we have one other staff member who's part-time. And the rest of our program is literally run by apprentices and interns because we don't have the funding. And this was the one way, I was a high school theater teacher at one point. I was a youth minister at one point. And everything that we did was run by our students. And I ran my high school theater, like a professional theater company. They came in, they got started. We had a stage manager that ran the show. And we've got to begin to start entrusting them with the ability to treat this as a career. And they do it. And then they stick around. Daniel's been here for several years.
Just one follow-up. One of the success stories of that very mindset comes from Bloomington, Minnesota, which operates a high school program of an educational television studio, working with high school students in what is essentially a real-world practical internship-type environment. The success story is cable casting, which was founded by the graduates in that program, right? So you couldn't have, and the program still exists to this day in terms of it's been working for about 30 years in Minnesota. Folks that it produces and supports to work in creative industries in different cities. You can't tell precisely what the journey is, but the impact is immeasurable.
Yeah. And I just say that when we think about, how very lean our staffs are, the way to fix that is to train up interns. Even if they become volunteers at some point, then you can do more. We can do we do so many things because we have hands and feet that are well trained, and they are more passionate. I was so passionate when I was that age. Now I'm like, can I just go to bed? So.
I think that speaks, I'm going to go back to our experience with the service learning on campus, because we know from studies when students are vested, They're giving time. They become connected, and then they'll step up. And I think it's the same in this situation, right? They're interested in it. They're giving their time to it, so they're vested into it, and they're like yes, and they step up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our interns, they're not just operating cameras. Like they are, they write their own series. They go out. I mean, they were literally up at the Capitol lobbying. They are treated as you're part of our team,
Yep.
and you are as responsible as the rest of us for its success or failure.
They feel it.
Yeah.
They own it.
Yes, ma'am.
We actually have a paid internship. We fundraise for that. It's a specialty. One of our longtime producers, we're 41 years old, and he had been with us for 30 years, 30 of those 41 years, and he passed away. So it was really in memory of him. And I wanted to be a part of this to really see, and last year was our first year of doing it. I mean, she was excellent. I'm from Monrovia, California, and actually we were, and so was she, a part of our city winning All-American City in 2024. So my purpose of coming here is to really just see, because it was our first year, it's really kind of hone in the logistics of how to handle that internship and how to increase, because it was just one.
Yeah.
And so how to increase that, the numbers, and not to overtax our staff. Like Fred was saying, we're small. But I really like what you just said right there, that you're the only one, and your interns and apprenticeship people are one kind of working there. And so that was great insight for me. That's what I'm liking. Like here, we do have a couple of community colleges nearby. We have high schools nearby as well. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to figure out what can be delegated to somebody who just started, right? What do they need to know? Making sure that one failure that we did have early on was not having a solid onboarding program. It's fine when you're bringing on an intern or a couple of interns, but if because they're like right there, like, oh, don't do that, right? But we've got like
they still need training.
Yeah, one semester we had 32 interns and pre-apprentices, right? So that was a lot, and they didn't all get the onboarding. We learned that the ones who spent time with me while I was in office, had a lot more success than the ones that were in the night crew. We actually had a mutiny where we had 6 interns simultaneously quit.
Oh.
Part of that was also because I told everyone that they had to write their own episodics, and we lifted 17 series that season, new series, which was great. Not everyone wants to do that, friends. I didn't know that. I just assumed they wanted to, but so.
Communication.
Yeah, but I would say making sure you have a very solid onboarding process is really important. We actually invite our interns to make videos that are fun and engaging for their own age group about things as boring as the task list. I don't think Daniel wants me to play the video, but it's great, hilarious and informative, and now everyone knows how to use the task list. And then they can also do that. We have people coming in at different times. They don't all start at the same time. And so when they come in, it's like, hi, congratulations. We've got DaVinci Resolve modules for you to watch. Everybody edits, that's a rule. And then we also have some of these other training videos for them to watch and work through processes, which is great. So then I don't have to necessarily do that, and I can expect them to know how to do that because they watched the video. And I'm gonna hold them accountable to that because I'm gonna be like, congratulations, your paycheck is related to your ability to do this. Do it. And of course, I'm gonna sit with them. The other part is, making sure you do weekly check-ins. So we do a Monday meeting every Monday. We live and die by it, and sometimes it takes entirely too long. And also showing them how to do that. So it's not me talking at them. It is, I'm going to tell you my highest leverage items that I need to make sure we all focus on this week, and then you're going to report out about your areas. And I give them autonomy. So I'm like, this is your project. I'm going to check in with you, but this is your project, and you're going to move it forward. So I'm not micromanaging them. They work in office without me while I go out and I got to shake hands and kiss babies and try to find money. And so they are literally, they're giving tours, they're running the studio. They do a lot of that. And of course I'm there when I'm able to be, but I do have such, it's me, you know, and it's them. So I'm talking too much, I'm sorry.
No, I think this is a phenomenal program that she has set up with the apprenticeship and having it clearly defined between who are the apprentices, what they do, and then the interns.
Right.
Because it is a different career track, and one may involve higher ed or not.
Right.
And I just think what you have is really phenomenal. We all don't have those film industry. I mean, it's
Right.
just, but I think just listening to you and knowing you, the success of your program is really due to you too. Your passion, your experience, and what you brought into it.
And I had a lot of mentors. I was in an apprenticeship program, you know, when I was 17 years old. So I was able to see how that kind of happened. And I would also say that, like, you know, leaning on your older interns and apprentices, the one thing that's a challenge, I would say, is that the average internship is 18-ish weeks. They're just getting started, just getting excited. They know it's short term, and they're thinking about the next thing. So if we begin to think about apprenticeship, right, or a longer internship, I don't know, but it's my goal is actually to keep them until I can hire them. Really, like I don't think they intend to go anywhere else. You know, this is home for them, and they're going to go work on sets, and they're going to come home, and that's kind of like what I've told them. So we'll see how it goes, but it's working so far, right? But I would say that, you know, that's the hardest part about internship is if you've got different people coming in every 18 weeks, like it's exhausting. You're basically a teaching mill, like you're a class, you know, it's a new semester, and it's, you know, you're adding a full-time teaching position to your already full-time job. So instead, we've got to shift and say, how do we grow a program that is a couple years? And then I've got Daniel, who's, congratulations, new kid, Caden, you're gonna be with Daniel while I'm doing my job. Daniel's going to show you how to clock in, how to put in a time off request, how to do your task list. He's going to show you how to operate the cameras. He's going to provide that base level training, and it's part of his job. Every single person that comes through here is taught what we call the skills transfer process, which is how you teach somebody else a skill in a specific methodical way, so that they can do that, and they're told from day one, like, hi, congratulations, as soon as you learn how to do this, you're going to know how to do it so you can teach somebody else. And that is because we do have so many interns, and they are coming in, and we don't know whose schedule they're going to mash up with. And so everybody edits and everybody teaches. Everybody knows how to do it. So that would be, I say, one way to help with that, because it is a load if you're not leaning on, and if you don't have the staff for it. You know, if you want to expand, every 6 students, you need another adult. Otherwise, you need an apprentice. You need somebody who you trust with keys.
I like the innovation, because as media has been changing, right, we've had to innovate and change with it, or we're out. So looking at internships that way, and, you know, how can we be innovative? How can we change it? Okay, so maybe the internship isn't 18 weeks, maybe we go to 32 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then what can we do now with that much time? Mm-hmm. And I like how you're doing the mentoring. So what are the responsibilities I have on campus? I set it up to have where it's an independent study, and I have the students set up. I did the initial, training, right? But I'm a full-time professor. So now as new students come into this, it's running our social media account, so I'm in charge of it. Well, that's a lot. Social media is not a side task, it's huge. So, I have the team set up. And there's always someone coming in, someone going, but I have a core group who are always there, so it maintains what I need it to be. And then the responsibility, falls. They have to teach, they have to help train and prepare the next leadership for the team. And so I think that's a great model for intern to help take the load off of an organization.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I really want our interns and apprentices to make money. I don't know if I would do it if there wasn't the money behind it. And in this case, the existing infrastructure for us is a 12-week program or a semester-long program. I think I even feel bad for Samuel that his stipend is only $1,750 or $1,800 for the semester. In Fresno, that's not even a month's rent. So I'm very grateful for Samuel being here with us, but I wish that the program could be something that pays a living wage. Otherwise, it's not sustainable.
Right.
So, and I may have misunderstood the way the apprenticeship is, that your apprentices are getting paid.
Sure.
But I wouldn't want to give someone the responsibility of having keys to the building if they're food insecure or housing insecure. But I didn't quite understand the
I'll
pay scale.
clarify. All of our internships and apprenticeships are paid hourly. And so with the exception of the phase 1 high school students who serve 180 hours in training.
Yeah.
But apart from that, everybody is paid. So we actually have basically kind of daisy-chained some different organizations. We've gone and investigated. What do you have for economic development? What do you have for career pathways? What do you have for apprenticeships or internships? And those are the words I'm using. Those are the words you should go use. And ignore media and all those other things because now you're an arts organization, which they think is less valuable. So no, we're career pathways, economic development, workforce, on-the-job training is magic words. So we've basically daisy-chained together through our public schools. So from high school, junior year, we start paying kids, right? So they spend 2 years with us. So we're daisy-chaining that. The schools give us money, okay, for that. Then we jump into a pre-apprenticeship program through DWS. That's another 400 hours of paid time through DWS. Then we go through the CNM pre-apprenticeship program, which is $4,800 per person, which is 400 hours. We can also then go through WIOA, or it's usually WIOA or that other pre-apprenticeship program. They're kind of friends, like they do things together. And then CNM, if they go into our registered apprenticeship program, so they've already given them 400 hours of pay. And now, through our registered apprenticeship program, they're going to give them up to $15,000 more for 6 months full-time working with us. So we've got, for these guys, basically about 2 years before we go, okay, now what? Some of these, and we've done some different things with our guys here. Some of them we've paid out of our pocket, but now we're reaching the end of that. We've got 6 months, 4.5 months before these guys kind of we're out of funding for them. And now we're leaning on to partnerships with production companies that want to hire them. And let me tell you, they have made names for themselves in the industry. People are coming out asking and looking for them. And just like I've heard from around here, every day I get, your interns, your apprentices are so professional. They know exactly what they're doing. They're on point. And so, but that's what we're daisy chaining, guys. And you guys should do the same thing. Where are the pockets of money and how can you line them up? Because then you can have them for 2 years. And I haven't paid them out of my own pocket yet, right? We don't have any money for that. So some of it, we've done some of it. But
I kind of misunderstood the.
No, I definitely agree.
The flow of how the apprentices and interns were getting their funding. But that's cool. Yeah. Even so, yeah. If the money is there, yeah, great. Keep them on for longer. Get them to learn more and get them to build up, a career and a name for themselves. Just in the position that we're in, we haven't found that situation. But yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have a different revenue stream and situation, and so these are just different examples that you can.
Back there and then up
I think here, and here
Yeah.
were our next three questions.
Sorry, it's just a comment, and I made it in one of the sessions yesterday, so if you are hearing this for the second time, I apologize. But just a pitch, if you're in California and you are looking for interns in the disability community, there is funding through the regional centers in California where you can get interns at no cost to your station or your organization. But they get paid, you set the wage, you cover like the workers come through an MOU, and they can work up to 1,040 hours for you getting on the job training, workforce development. So for Californians, it's a great underused funding stream to get you qualified people from an underserved community.
And where would you go to find that?
You can come talk to me and I will give you more information, but it's called the Paid Internship Program, and you would go to your local regional center. So you guys would be CVRC, Central Valley Regional Center.
Central Valley Regional Center. Okay.
And some of those programs also offer job coaches depending on the intensity of the disability.
So they come with job coaching so that, yes, thank you.
Meaning that they have a person there with them to help. Yeah.
Which can help with that training, and you have your job to do, but then somebody can help them learn it. Yep.
Yeah, in the back, yeah.
Definitely. So I think there's something that y'all have been kind of hinting on this whole time, but I haven't completely directly addressed yet, and that's like, how do we deal with this internship like burnout and disillusionment in the field? This is a field that you can very easily overwork yourself on, kick your own butt, and get yourself out of. So how do we as centers kind of combat that?
Burnout for the interns themselves or for the staff managing? Yeah.
Not overworking them.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're all doing kind of weekly check-ins, trying to figure out what the workload is. For the Fresno State program and the City of Fresno program, there's a limited number of hours. Again, in which case could be seen as a negative in that, like, that we don't have them for as long, but built-in burnout protection in that Samuel only spends 10 hours with us a week. Of course, you have your other part-time work at the school and then your full-time student. So that is still a fair amount to juggle. That's nearly 2 full-time jobs worth of hours a week. Isabella and Sam through the Youth Job Corps are with us for 24 hours a week. That's three working days, but of course they have their own lives and other stuff going on. But weekly check-ins, I think, are our biggest thing, and because they are apprentices and interns to me, I'm always pitching them on, here are the things we have. Which ones of these can you work on, or do you want to work on? So I try to always have an opt-out availability for that. That's kind of our built-in burnout protection. I think Dom's got some extra thoughts.
To just having that clear communication with these interns to kind of like from day one or maybe like halfway through, just like, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What don't you like? What do you like? Do you want to shift a little bit on your focus onto something else? For example, when I had the 5 student interns with Alex Soto, who was co-supervising them, we would change up their responsibilities from developing community corner to then maybe doing some programming. That way they got a change of pace a little bit instead of just so like in the nitty-gritty details of one thing, it's just change of pace. So just offering that, or at least at the very least, just checking in, how are you doing? What don't you like?
Yeah, variability in communication, huge keys for that. I don't always have the luxury to do this, but especially because these interns and apprentices, these are some of the very first productions they're joining us on that they've ever participated in. I tried to end each production before we head out, wheels up. I tried to just ask, what what went well, what were the challenges, what could we do better for the next one. Again, that's also for the perspective, sort of the aspect of like these folks can give us perspective that we haven't seen because we've been doing this for so long. It's insight for that, but we can also glean into their. I always call it their Sims. If anybody ever played the Sims, they've got the. How are their Sims doing? That's also a good opportunity for checking in. Yeah.
If I could add, students come in very excited, right? This is what they're looking for, and they have this passion. And so I think it would be easy for them to overextend themselves if we don't have checks and balances. So for organizations and even faculty who oversee the internships, making sure that students are being realistic and not overextending so that we can avoid that burnout. Because just being a student alone, you hit a wall.
Right.
Where you're like, I just can't do anymore. And you have to see that graduation in sight. So again, it comes down to that partnership I talked about. It's really a partnership in that communication when you're dealing with higher ed.
Yeah. And then we probably need to wrap up here in just a minute. I would say that, from that point of view, asking them to, how many hours they can come out a week, being flexible with that, and honoring that time. And then, sometimes providing advisement on that time, like, no, you really can't work 40 hours a week because you have a, school schedule. And then also their choice, asking what it is that what are they here to learn about? What are they, what aspect of this industry are you most interested in? And allowing them to spend most of their time in that. We still have things like, and also, everyone does clean the studio, congratulations, but yeah. So I would say that's, yeah. Do we have, it's 12.
Yeah, in the blue, I'd love to hear your question, see if we can answer it really quickly.
Yeah.
Did you find that there's any funding source whatsoever in a unified school district?
What does unified mean? Please help.
He has.
From up to 12th grade, high school.
Oh,
But
yeah.
your programs are.
Right. We receive some funding from Albuquerque Public Schools through the Futures Focus Grant. And they have through CTE, the CTE department, what is that, Career Technical Education? They have funding for on-the-job training.
Our partnership with Fresno Unified did not pay the students, but it did help cover the cost of the staff time to host the internship. But that was it, I believe.
And we have that situation as well. We have actually, DWS is actually paying for our summer high school interns for their paid hours, but this school actually helps cover the cost of our mentors, which is really helpful.
I don't think too that Fresno Unified is doing here with its students is that they're also providing the transportation for the kids. So,
I meant to ask you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they bring a bus and the students.
Or actually, that was the first year. It was actually like city buses, but then they saw a lot of kinks in that model. So now it's teachers or another paid staff person gets a vehicle and drives all the students.
So more of a van situation. Yeah. Cool. I know we're running out of time. I know you're all hungry for lunch, but if you want to chat more, come find us, and we'll chat with you over lunch. Thank you.